Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to deploy a Laravel application to the cloud in a very simple way, just using your web browser. Our goals today, so during this tutorial we're going to see how to provision a cloud server, set up a Laravel app, have a MySQL database server installed, and make sure the application is exposed to the world. For this deployment, we're going to use this tool called Devopness. You just go to devopness.com. So Devopness can create the cloud infra for you, help you manage it, configure Linux, deploy applications. So just click sign in. I'm already signed in here. So in Devopness, you can have multiple projects, and one project can have multiple environments. You can separate dev environments. So here, for example, I can actually click here and see all the environments. I have a few. And my dev environment here. For this tutorial, I'm going to use my demo environment. Earlier on, I already connected my AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud accounts. If you don't see this box, just click View All and Add Credentials. First thing we're going to do to follow our step-by-step is to provision a cloud server. So let's get started. You just click here in the list of servers. I'm using mainly Microsoft Azure because I got free credits from them. If you saw in our channel here, recently we published a video on how to deploy N8N AI automations, workflow automation using Devopness. So since that demo used Azure, let's create a new server, this time using a different cloud provider. I also have a few free credits on Google Cloud, so I'm going to use that so I can save myself some money. So you can pick the region here. You want to use US Central 1. I don't have any specific network requirements. If you don't know the instance name you need, I know I need at least 4 gigabytes of RAM. And okay, so this one will cost me 25 a month. I'm fine with that. 20 gigabytes of space. Well, I want more. I want 60 gigabytes. Well, 40. That might be enough. Just want to play around because I'm going to have the database in this. Is a demo server, but I'm going to use the database. Give it a name. Demo deploy Laravel. Okay, next, and confirm. That's simple. If you want to provision the server on AWS, DigitalOcean, Azure, you use the same steps. So here, our action, everything in Devopness triggers an action. So this action is in progress. It might take might take a minute to get the server, the provision, and I feel like about 7 minutes to have Linux and everything configured. We can get back to this page in a sec. In the meantime, as the server is being provisioned, we can start creating our application. So you can use Devopness to deploy any stack. So in this environment, I have applications using the stack Ruby on Rails framework like Ruby. This one is just Docker with Docker Compose. I have a few ones that are just pure Dockerfile without Docker Compose. I have another one is Node.js. Since this tutorial is about Laravel, let's click here. If you want to deploy your own private repository or from the company work, just click the source provider where your code is hosted. And if you don't have a credential listed here, just click create a new Bitbucket credential or create a new GitLab credential. That will take you to the flow to connect a source provider account, a Git repository account. In my case, I have a GitHub credential already configured. You see my repositories are listed automatically. But if you don't feel comfortable to get started with a private repository, for this tutorial, I'm going to use an open source repository. So let's search for something big that represents the real world. Okay, so that's what I searched earlier on today. In Laravel Daily website, there's this blog post about 10 large open source projects. So that might be a good challenge for us today. Yeah, so the one that I found that I caught my attention was Koel or Koel. I don't know how to pronounce. If you are one of the maintainers of Koel, comment right here in the comments how to pronounce. One thing that I know is that I found it pretty cool because the music streaming is open source and has a good looking UI. I'm a back-end engineer, so when I see something that looks great in the front end, I tend to admire because something that I can't build myself. Project's quite popular, seems to be keeping up to date. Let's give it a go. So the website might have documentation on how to deploy. Yeah, so here the docs. Getting started. Okay, so here talk about what are the server requirements to run. So it's based on Laravel framework. So first of all, we have to make sure we meet all the requirements of the framework. So it has to be PHP 8.2 or higher, more recent version, and all those PHP extensions should be available in the server. I feel that Devopness covers all those requirements. Let's give it a go. Also, it says you might need a database, MySQL, Postgre, MariaDB, SQLite. Okay, I'm gonna use MySQL. If you're building from source, yes. We don't wanna use a Docker image for now, although you could deploy a Docker image with Devopness anyways, but we want to deploy from source, just running PHP on top of the Linux operating system to get started. In other tutorials, we can show how to deploy Laravel with Composer, Laravel to serverless, Laravel to Kubernetes. Just comment here which ones you would like to be covered and how to use Devopness to deploy. Okay, so clone the repo. This is the repo. Let's go back to the repo. Just copy the URL. You can close this. Go back to Devopness, and here, if you deploy an open source repository, just paste the URL and Devopness will know the owner and the repo name. Keep going. Now I have to pick the stack. In our case, we're using PHP. You can pick the version. Let's use the latest one, 8.4. And here to pick framework. If you are deploying your pure PHP code, just say PHP without a framework. In our case, we know Koel is based on Laravel, so let's pick Laravel. You can set the command you want to run to install dependencies. A few suggestions here. Let's stick to compose and install. The command, let's see. So here, so git clone, Devopness will do that for us automatically. Checkout will do automatically. Compose and install is set. Okay, so Koel is saying we need to run PHP artisan Koel init. Let's paste this command here. Confirm. Cool, our application is created. But now I have to do a few things because Koel says we need a database, right? MySQL. So in Devopness, just click here and go to the services list. So you can add any services to your servers or environment. So Devopness support a list of databases and common services. In our case, we want MySQL. The latest version 8, I think is the latest. But anyway, the latest available here in Devopness. Okay, configuring was that quick, but we have to deploy. Everything has to be deployed. So let's deploy MySQL to the new server we just created. We had this, the demo deploy Laravel on Google Cloud. Select the server, next, deploy. You might have seen this page before, right? We're installing MySQL in the server. We need the credentials. So we're gonna get an email. Devopness will send an email with the credentials. Keep an eye on that. So we go back to our application list. We see now we have Laravel here, yay! But never been deployed. The current live version is not defined because it's not live. So we have to click the application to set the configuration files. If you are familiar with Laravel, you probably know that Laravel has a convenience that you can set all the environment variables as a .env file. And let's go to the Koel repo. So here you have the .env.example. Let's copy this file. Copy raw file. Yes. Go back to Devopness. You paste it here. And one of the things you have to define, and they say many things here. Let's see. So we don't have to set the app key because you can leave this empty if you're using PHP artisan Koel init. We do. Okay, so that we're good on that. Okay, database connection. They use MySQL by default. Good, that's the one you're using. Here we need to change the credentials. With the credentials, Devopness sent us by email. So in another tab here, I have the email I received from Devopness. You're going to receive a similar email. So you are receiving. This is the server, demo deploy Laravel. So here you can see the database that were created. It's called Devopness. Let's copy this. Database name. Oh, no space here. Oop. You have two user credentials. So there's a user called Devopness and another user called root. It's not a good practice to connect your Laravel application directly using root user because it has too much power. So let's just use the password from the Devopness user here. Of course, you should not share this password with anybody. I'm going to destroy this server and installation after the demo. The username is also Devopness. So we have the database Devopness. You're going to log in as user Devopness. You're going to use this password. GHQR. Yes, cool. We don't need this anymore. That should work. Confirm. So have the application configured, have the env file with our environment variables. So now we're good to deploy. You can, from the application details or any part related to the application, just hit deploy. I'm gonna ask you, what do you want to deploy? Do you want to deploy from a branch? Do you want to deploy a specific Git tag or a specific Git commit? So it's very flexible. In our case, I want to deploy the branch. Let's see the branches here. They don't have a main branch, they have a master. Okay, let's just see if this is the one in the root of this repository, because I'm not so familiar with it. Yes, so the master branch is the main branch. Cool, next. Then you pick the server or the servers, because you can deploy to multiple servers at once. Very useful if you're running your application behind a load balancer, for example, or when you want to migrate from one cloud provider to another and want to benchmark the performance and pricing. Also, when you're doing testing, so there are many use cases where you want to deploy to multiple servers. In our case, I just want to deploy to one server now. Next, even before deploying, if you want to see what's going to be deployed, you can click the commit, the latest commit, and see what were the changes introduced by that commit. Devopness will take you directly to the source provider. So you can see the diff, that can be useful. In our case, just hit deploy. Remember, we just created the server. I mean, the tutorial is a bit long, but keep in mind what we've accomplished so far. We created the server. We didn't SSH the server. We didn't do anything. Create the application using the web browser, hit deploy. Since the application is connected to Laravel, Devopness knows that it depends on PHP. So we are installing PHP FPM service for you on the Linux VM. This might take a few seconds or a minute. In the meantime, just out of curiosity, we can go back to our list of servers and see if our server is ready. So it completed the configuration. We can click here and see all the details. So it's a server running on Google Cloud US Central 1. We have the IP address, the SSH port used by the server, the default 22. It's using Ubuntu latest version, and it's running. Yay, good. If you want to see details of the log, you can always, anywhere in Devopness, you can click actions. You can see here, view previous actions. So we see the server was created in 55 seconds. Then we had to wait a minute until Google Cloud allowed us connectivity to the server. And then Devopness started configuring the server for you. So what did Devopness do? It created the Devopness users in the server, applied the latest security patches provided by Ubuntu, and you can see the time each task took here. If you want to see logs of everything in Devopness, just click the log buttons. And beyond configuring the server, Devopness also configured for you a security group and security rules. In the case, if you're coming from AWS world, in the case of Google Cloud, they call that firewall rules. So we are exposing and allowing traffic to ports HTTP, HTTPS. Also, Devopness created a virtual host. So what's a virtual host? Is mapping an address, in this case IP address, to an application to serve its content. Devopness by default configured NGINX for you, so NGINX was installed. And if you want to access the server by the IP address now, just go to the virtual host, click its name. It's not secure because SSL certificates are not issued by IP address, so just click continue to site now. You should see this page. This is just a static HTML index file that Devopness created and created in your server, and configured NGINX to load the content of this file. Nice, looking cool, animation, etc. But that's not what we want our users to see. We want them to see the content of our Laravel application, right? So back here in this virtual host, you just click edit. And next, you're going to link this IP address, the root of this server, to serve the content of a specific application, which is Koel. And Usually Laravel applications are served from the public repository. You can double check if you want in the repo. Yeah, so they have public repository, and there's an index.php file. That's the main entry point for a Laravel application. Coming back here, so just say, hey, serve from public. There's nothing else to change here. If you are serving an application using Docker, you have to map here the traffic from NGINX to the container. We can cover that in another tutorial. If you're interested in seeing deploying Laravel using Docker Compose, please comment in the video, and then we can produce more tutorials that cover your use case. So just click next. Again, confirm. We updated the virtual host. We just have to deploy it now. And you might be asking yourself, okay, so I'm switching too many screens. Where can I see what's going on, if it's deployed or not? So you can come back to the root of the environment, and here you have an actions button. So if you don't want to be clicking all around, here you can see everything that's running on your environment. For example, if you enable push to deploy, automatically deploys when you merge to a branch on your Git repository. If you just keep this screen open, you're going to see everything that's happening in your environment. So here you can see the history of what we've done so far, like a server has been provisioned, configured, the network rules, firewall rules were configured for you, a virtual host was created, NGINX was installed, MySQL was deployed as well, then we create the app. Yeah, so by the way, let's see how we hit the deployment of that app. So it took 3 minutes and 8 seconds. So here you can see specific logs, for example, install dependencies. You can click and see that compose and install was successful. You can see the logs here if you want. Very useful. We usually don't look at logs when things are successful, right? Usually when they fail, logs are more useful. And so here we invoked the command recommended by Koel, PHP Arts and Koel init. I never run this before, so let's see what does it do. Okay, some recommendations, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I like, okay, colorful things here. Emojis, we love emojis, right? So info. Finally, thanks for using Koel. You rock. You guys rock, because I love to use it. I want to log in because I never tried. I don't know how to play the music there. Okay. And if you click back in the application, remember in the previous step we went to virtual host and linked the virtual host to the application. Now in the application you can even see here in the list of virtual hosts, we can see that is mapped to a virtual host that is accessing the application using the IP address. And an application can have multiple virtual hosts. For example, if you have more than one subdomain that you want to access the application, like subdomain1.yourcompany.com, subdomain 2, you can just link more virtual hosts here, and Devopness knows what to do. If your application depends on daemons, background process to keep it up and running, for example, if you use Laravel with Laravel Horizon, or if you process queues in the background, you can link daemons here. So let's go back to the virtual host. It's being deployed when? A few seconds ago. So if you click the virtual host again, fingers crossed. Woo! Yay! So it matches the logo here in the Koel website. Okay, but what's the admin password? Oh, here. So it's admin at koel.dev, admin koeldev. And Koel is cool. Let's see, Koel, are you pretty cool? Just a little page. Wow, hey Koel. Yay! So we see, I think let's get back to our goal. So we provision a cloud server. Yes. Check. What's the check mark? Okay, tick button. Google Drive say. So that is check. Set up Laravel app, good. We installed MySQL. We defined config files. Configure Linux OS, Devopness did that for us automatically. Secure the server network, that was done for us automatically. And expose app to the world, yay, using an IP address. Okay, I could have had it here by IP address. Next could be expose the over DNS record, subdomain. If that's your case, you just come here to Devopness, as I mentioned before, and create more virtual hosts. And of course, you need to check a virtual host instead of IP address, which you use domain name, and then you have to map your DNS record. In our roadmap for the upcoming versions, we're going to manage DNS directly here, so stay tuned. And coming back here, so happy if you're going to use Koel itself. Have a happy time playing your songs here and getting started. I'm going to learn how to use this. Keep an eye on Devopness YouTube channel. We are publishing new videos soon, and especially if you could give us feedback, subscribe here, give us feedback what type of videos you would like to watch. Can be related to Laravel, to Fast API, to Python, to Rails, to any technology in this planet. We want to deploy anything using Devopness. It should become your single tool to create, manage cloud infrastructure and deploy applications. Also, don't forget, if you are logged into Devopness, just come here in your avatar and click, where is that? Here. Join our Discord community and give feedback, feature requests, report bugs, criticize us, say, you guys are not cool. Cool is this thing. This is cool, but Devopness wants to be cool as well. So please join our community. We're trying to build something that can be very useful. And last but not least, we also have our own open source repository. And if you could leave us a star here, or start the repo here, or recommend to a friend, or if you want to start contributing to open source repositories, or if you have friends that are junior developers or junior DevOps engineers, want to learn more about the cloud, DevOps, CI/CD, sysadmin, Laravel, PHP, Python, we're trying to make this repository the most beginner-friendly open source repository on this planet. That's a bold statement, I know, and there are cool things coming here. If you want to explore AI, just click this button and you're gonna see the magic happening. Thanks for watching. I hope that was useful, although long. And yeah, stay in touch. Happy deployments with Devopness.